Happy Thanksgiving month, everybody, and Tony here with my review of Puccini's Tosca with conductor Giampaolo Bisanti, which I saw at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. This marks the 6th time I saw Boleslav Barlog's production of Puccini's Tosca at the Deutsche Oper Berlin because I wanted to see, hear, and witness Martin Muehle performed the role of Mario Cavaradossi. I've been hearing a lot of fantastic things about Signore Muehle, not only through word of mouth, but also through one of my most favorite opera YouTubers of all time, Afro Poli. I've even heard some clips of his singing on YouTube, and from what I could tell, his voice had clarity, focus, and most importantly, squillo. So the question was, how well was his voice going to hold up live? I heard a lot of stuff about his voice being extremely manageable in the theater, and as I heard him last night as Mario Cavaradossi, those sentiments were absolutely legitimate. I truly fell in love with Martin Muehle's voice as it was an amalgamation of Mario del Monaco, Franco Corelli, Carlo Bergonzi, Flaviano Labo, Pedro La Virgen, Franco Bonisoli, and Giuseppe Giacomini. He had excellent old school style singing pouring right out of his mouth, and his declamatory skills were a total godsend. This is all thanks to how he was able to cover his notes and really capitalize on excellent squillo bel canto singing, thus making his voice ring and radiate throughout the theater as if though it were an amalgamation of thousands of swords combined with lightning bolts. That was how excellent Martin Muehle was last night as Mario Cavaradossi. Vocal prowess aside, he was tall, handsome, athletic, and absolutely virile. That is just how much Martin Muehle won me over as Mario Cavaradossi. And it was thanks to his voice that radiated so exceedingly well, and he did such a miraculously outstanding job owning the role of Mario Cavaradossi, a role that he has been singing for what feels like decades. And this is a voice I would love to hear a lot more often because it had great focus, it had great clarity, it had such passion and strength, formidability, and most importantly, virility, considering that he is a true spinto/dramatic tenor in the vein of Mario del Monaco, Franco Corelli, Carlo Bergonzi, and Flaviano Labo, unless they forget about Francesco Merli, Giovanni Martinelli, and Giovanni Zenatello. True Italianate bel canto, spinto tenor singing with loads of squillo pouring out of his mouth from bottom to top, and singing in great voce coperta, and being in great command of such a handsome and powerful voice. I could see an amazing future for Martin Muehle as Verdi's Otello, and even more performances of Radames from Verdi's Aida, and lest they forget about Don Alvaro from La Forza del Destino. As for the Germanic repertoire, I'm sure that he could be a great shoo-in for Tristan, Tannhäuser, Siegfried from Wagner's Siegfried, and Siegfried from Götterdämmerung, considering that he already had Siegmund in his repertoire. And who knows, maybe he can even own it as Samson from Samson et Dalila, and Rodrigue from Lucide by Massenet. The possibilities for Signore Martin Muehle are absolutely endless, and he was the absolutely amazing gold star, gold medal winning singer last night as Mario Cavaradossi. He definitely stole the show from everybody's feet, and he even outsang the Tosca of the evening, Elena Stechina, and the Barone Vitellio Scarpia, Lucio Gallo, which is not an easy feat to accomplish, but Martin Muehle did it. So I salute and adulate Martin Muehle for what he was able to accomplish as Mario Cavaradossi. He was a gold, platinum, titanium medal winner in my eyes, all thanks to his amazingly sterling technique, all thanks to his mastery of squillo, and all thanks to how he was able to embody Mario Cavaradossi complete with virile passion and a whole lot of red hot Italian masculinity and strength. So bravo to Martin Muehle for a job outstandingly done, and I do hope to continue watching him in more live performances because his voice radiates extremely well live, and of course, this is where his voice truly radiates and glows with power and formidability, especially with such an impassioned character like Mario Cavaradossi. Elena Stechina was a good singer. She had a nice, rich, and creamy tone in her voice. She was able to sing her notes really well with no wobble, no sense of shakiness, let alone any sense of a tremolo in her voice or even any sort of insecurity. She was a technically good musician all throughout the evening as Floria Tosca, and she was able to emit a lot of nobility, elegance, beauty, and charm as the title heroine. That's great and all of that, but just because you have a nice creamy tone that's wobble-free and you also have that elegant and absolutely gorgeous stage presence, that doesn't always make for an extremely outstanding Tosca. What was missing about Elena Stechina in terms of her voice was a lot more charisma and a lot more flair, or as I would like to coin it, a lot more red hot fire and brimstone, steely, metallic sword-like singing. There were times I was missing a lot more of that vocal acting, let alone more of that theatricality, and basically a lot more of that fire, not only in her voice, but also in her stage mannerisms. Sure, she was able to play up the elegance and nobility of Tosca well, but she's a lot more than that. Tosca is supposed to be an impassioned and fiery diva who tends to get easily jealous, but is ultimately willing to fight for her man, even if she has to kill off Barone Vitello Scarpia. And when she finds her poor lover Mario Cavaradossi dead, she's supposed to be panicky and wild before having that final desperate attempt at her own life by jumping off the parapet. The red-hot fire and searing passion necessary for any singer for Tosca was kind of missing in Elena Stechina's interpretation of the role, because who I have in my ears when it comes to Tosca's fire and passion and red-hot Italian singing are the likes of Bianca Scacciatti, Eugenia Burzio, Gina Cigna, Maria Caniglia, Zinka Milanov, Renata Tebaldi, and Maria Callas. If I wanted steelier and more incisive singing that could manage to be totally ear-splitting, all thanks to such comet-like high notes, I can never ever go wrong with the likes of Carmen Melis, Birgit Nilsson, and Leonie Rizenek, especially where Birgit Nilsson and Leonie Rizenek are concerned, because they were absolutely famous for their blazing top notes and great flair for drama. Whether it was Birgit Nilsson's Wagnerian might and overall strength, or Leonie Rizenek's blazing top notes and total flair for drama. And it's not just blazing top notes and a hot temperament that makes Tosca Tosca, but also chest tones. I was kind of missing that in Elena Stechina because her voice wasn't chesty enough. Sure, she was able to sing pretty well with head voice, and sure, she had good coordination, especially when it came to coordinated chest tones. But I was missing that extra depth, that extra meatiness, and that extra rawness that I love in any spinto or dramatic soprano singing Tosca. Who I have in my ears when it comes to the chesty Toscas are Maria Caniglia, Zinka Milanov, Renata Tebaldi, and Maria Callas, who used chest tones to their advantage to make Tosca an impassioned character, as well as add in a whole lot of depth and richness to her overall character. With Elena Stikina, she was a good singer, but ultimately the vocal faults that she had kind of made her sound boring in one note. Regardless, she had a stable technique. She had good musicianship, but I was missing that extra flair. I was missing that extra red hot temperament that I love in any spinto or dramatic soprano singing Tosca. She was a decent singing actress with a good voice and a good technique, but I was missing a lot more fire and a whole lot more extra character. At least Elena Stekina was a good musician and she was able to carry herself rather well with nobility. Although Lucio Gallo is quite past his prime, given that he has been singing since the 80s and even jettisoned much further in the 90s, he still possessed great vocal might as Barone Vitello Scarpia, and his stage presence continued to combine that sense of nobility because of his position as the chief of police, and sleaze because of how much he lusts for Tosca's beauty and her sinuousness. That is just how totally involving Lucio Gallo still continues to be as a singing actor. And his voice was still quite hefty for the role and equally chesty for those good low notes. So he was virility incarnate, both as a singer with really good chest tones as well as theatrically, considering that he was able to combine that nobility and sleaze all in one exciting package. Thus, Lucio Gallo continues to win as Scarpia in my eyes. Sure, he may be vocally past his prime, but what remains of his voice is a whole lot of strength, depth, virility, and a whole lot of formidability. So I have to give a lot of kudos to Lucio Gallo for doing such a magnificent job as Scarpia, one of the many roles that he has been singing throughout his career, and for using vocal virility and theatrical virility to his absolutely fantastic advantage. So I still have to salute Lucio Gallo for a job outstandingly done in a role that has been in his repertoire for many, many years. Kyle Miller was a dashing and handsome Cesare Angelotti. He is a cavalier baritone, but he was able to use a lot more chestiness and a lot more depth to heighten the desperation of this otherwise basso part that managed to make me totally involved as an audience member. He definitely continues to grow with virility, formidability, and strength. And at times I kind of forget that Kyle Miller was a cavalier baritone. There were occasions where he sounded more like a bass baritone. That was just how convincing Mr. Miller was as Cesare Angelotti. Sure, I do prefer a true basso cantante or a true basso singing Cesare Angelotti, such as Carlo Cava, Giancarlo Lucardi, or Franco Calabrese. But I still have to give major props to Kyle Miller for what he was able to accomplish as this wonderful character part, all thanks to his beautifully focused voice that was rich and round and virile in its own special way, and his overall engaging stage presence that made him just as strong as an overall singing actor. So free cheers to Kyle Miller as Cesare Angelotti for doing such an outstanding job with this otherwise thankless character. Joel Allison continues to wow me vocally as the sacristan. His voice continues to show a lot of roundness, richness, depth, and virility that I love in many a bass baritone or even a basso singing the sacristan. He was in tip-top form as the sacristan, and his vocal goods were absolutely outstanding, even to the point where he is quite up there with a couple of favorite interpreters of the sacristan, such as Italo Tayo and Fernando Correnna. And the vocal richness Joel Allison demonstrated made him absolutely brilliant. Thomas Ciluffo was an absolutely amazing godsend as Spoletta. His trademark light lyric tenor voice managed to glow and grow and radiate with beauty, handsomeness, and a whole lot of fantastic musicianship. This is a tenor whose career I would love to see flourish a lot more, and this is a tenor I continue to admire, all thanks to how well he was able to cover his notes and master the art of true Italianate squillo singing from bottom to top. So I salute Thomas Ciluffo for doing such an amazing job as Spoletta. Yong Kwang-oh was a dominating and strong Sharonne, all thanks to his fine and absolutely chocolate-like virile bass baritone voice. Geon Kim was a sturdy jailer, also thanks to his strong baritone voice. And Fanny Böning was absolutely lovely as the shepherd, all thanks to how clearly she was able to sing and enunciate all of her lyrics. So she also did a fine vocal job as the shepherd, and I wish her a whole lot of wonderful endeavors. So overall, the singing was really good to varying degrees, but the one singer who was excellent, both vocally and theatrically, was indubitably Martin Muehle as Mario Cavaradossi. His outstanding way of using squillo to his advantage to make his voice radiate throughout the theater, and do so with completely exceptional technical abandon, as well as a lot of great precision used to make his voice ring and radiate throughout the theater, made him an absolute standout. His technical prowess, as well as his overall passion, made him phenomenally ideal, not only for a lot of the Verismo roles, but also for the spinto, dramatic tenor, and even Helden tenor repertoire as a whole. He showed virility, he showed flair, and he showed a lot of formidable strength that I wanted a whole lot more from Signore Martin Muehle. That was just how excellent he was as Mario Cavaradossi, and by that extent, as an overall amazing and phenomenal singing actor. I still have to give some kudos to Elena Stichina and Lucio Gallo for doing such fine jobs as Floria Tosca and Barone Vitelio Scarpia. And I also have to give major props to Kyle Miller, Joel Allison, Thomas Ciluffo, Yong Kwang-oh, Geon Kim, and Fanny Böning for doing excellent jobs respectively as Cesare Angelotti, the sacristan, Spoletta, Sharonne, the jailer, and the shepherd. They were all pros, and they were all amazing in their own special ways. But when you cut to brass tacks, Martin Muehle dominated everybody tonight and won me over as a true singing actor, thanks to his technical prowess and his superb musicianship, let alone his great sense of indubitably amazing theatricality. The conducting done by Giampaolo Bisanti was bold, brassy, and big. He was able to produce those big sounds, but also couple it with some sensuous moments to make his conducting all the more multidimensional. But his strengths do lie in a lot of the big moments, even though there were occasions in which his conducting tended to drown out the Tosca of the evening, Elena Stichina. But he was still able to keep that excitement growing and glowing with everything that he's got, thus whipping that orchestra into great shape. And the chorus and the orchestra of the Deutsche Oper Berlin were, as always, reliable and excellent all the way through. So overall, with Martin Muehle stealing the show from everybody's feet and dominating the entire performance, all thanks to his incredibly amazing technical prowess as a singing actor, and how he was able to take great advantage of red-hot Italian temperament and passion to make Mario Cavaradossi glow and grow with charisma, I definitely had a great time watching him as this iconic painter. And I would even argue that the likes of Mario del Monaco, Franco Corelli, Carlo Bergonzi, Flaviano Labo, Pedro La Virgen, Franco Bonisoli, and Giuseppe Giacomini are smiling down on him from heaven. That is just how much he was well endowed with all of his fantastic vocal gifts that reminded me of these 7 tenors that managed to make him radiate and glow so superbly. The hype was definitely legit when he was a purveyor of true old school style singing. And I salute Martin Muehle for his superb portrayal of Mario Cavaradossi. And for those of you who caught this performance of Puccini's Tosca at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, what did you think of it? Did you feel that Martin Muehle was the most outstanding, let alone the performer that you think was excellent, not only in his role as Mario Cavaradossi, but also as an overall singing actor? Did you also feel that there was someone who stood toe-to-toe with Martin Muehle as Cavaradossi? Was there also a singer who stole the thunder out of Martin Muehle's feet? Or did you feel like the singing was not really to your liking? Please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for my review of Puccini's Tosca, starring Martin Muehle as Mario Cavaradossi. So tune in tomorrow for, hopefully, my review of Richard Strauss's Die Frau ohne Schatten at the Staatsoper unter den Linden. So until then, good night everybody, and happy Thanksgiving month.